I think what we are going to hear from Pierre Poilievre is what he's been telling all Canadians, which is that he's ready to lead, that Canada desperately needs a change from the Liberals, and that we have a lot of unity behind him as a caucus.
What do you agree that Justin Trudeau should be jailed? What would you say to colleagues who clearly don't feel that way, who are concerned about the comments that he made on the podcast?
I think that Pierre Poilievre has tremendous support from caucus, tremendous support from Canadians. We're really excited to see what's going to be coming. But at the end of the day, this is like, a little out of context things from a podcast is really not the biggest priority for Canadians. I think what's going to be happening is we're going to be seeing a lot more from Pierre about the vision for Canada, and I think that's something that he's going to be our next Prime Minister, and that's why we're here.
What's out of context? What are you talking about? What's out of context?
Thoughts on what your leader said about the RCMP last week?
Why don't you guys ask me about the thousands of jobs that have been lost in my province due to softwood, this government's failure to get a softwood lumber agreement?
Can we ask about that?
Or ask me about the opioid crisis, how that is like the leading cause of death for youth aged 10 to 18 in my province. Why don't you ask me about that? Of course I support our leader, and he's going to be an incredible Prime Minister.
What do you make of this whole episode? What are you
in the RCMP?
What are you hoping to hear from your leader this morning when
All
it comes
kinds
to
of.
this
We have a big agenda, and of course we're going to pursue that agenda.
But what do you make of this whole episode with the RCMP and his comments? What do you make of those comments?
What I make of which comments? The ones you made about
the RCMP?
question of the RCMP? Well, number one, I've got a lot of friends in the RCMP, and a lot of us, of course, respect the work the RCMP does, particularly in these trying times where you take a look at what they have to deal with on a daily basis of having criminals come out and return again and again and again, to the streets. So they've got a whole bunch.
But what do you think? Do you think the leadership?
Well, two things, right? Two things on that. So recognize that tone is important. Tone is very important, but tone is actually something that gets something done in many respects. So the fact that you've got a leadership here, political leadership, that's allowed this to continue. So take a look at what Canadians are thinking right now as far as the SNC Labyrinth scandal.
What do you make of the tone of your leader?
Well, let's go through that exactly. Think about exactly what we're dealing with here. What we're dealing with here is the SNC Labyrinth scandal. So if we've actually opened that up and actually have the new Prime Minister hold the old administration to account over what happened to SNC Labyrinth, because the Canadians understand exactly what shouldn't happen in a democratically run country. So think about everybody.
So were your leader's comments?
Do you think Trudeau?
Poilievre was talking about Trudeau going to jail or alluding to that.
The thing is you need to take a look at everybody involved in the process, and the RCMP needs to do their job, because frankly, right now, we haven't seen a full analysis of what actually has happened here. And if you actually go to committee and look at why the former Prime Minister wasn't interviewed, take a look at all of the issues around that, about how we actually address this, we need to go forward and make sure that we take a look at it.
Do you think your leader went too far in his comments?
There's all kinds of comments, but
on the RCMP comments.
Sure, but let's look at the whole thing. Let's go back to the issue around.
Do you fully agree with what he said?
Let me ask the question. What's the role of the opposition here? The opposition is to make sure the government is held to account. So the government needs to be held to account here, and if some of that is okay, somebody in the party has to come up and say, yes, we need to look at this. This is about Canadian democracy at the end of the day and the Canadian rule of law. So if we're getting this all done at the end of the day, whoever says it, but if the RCMP actually goes forward and actually takes a look at the evidence, we're asking the evidence to kind of be very clear and make sure we actually understand it.
You're fine with what he said.
Nobody's actually, so think about all the people in the RCMP that we support. And the RCMP, frankly, we love the work they do.
Okay.
They're great. They're a great a great Canadian institution, and we have lots of friends.
But when the leader says their leadership was despicable, past commissioner, how does? But no, but how?
Well, I think I've answered.
But with respect to you haven't. Do you agree with his? Do you, in your assessment, think that what the leader said was accurate and appropriate, saying the RCMP leadership was despicable over its handling of these scandals?
I think he's clarified exactly what he said about the leadership. He said former Commissioner Brenda Lucki has not looked at the evidence sufficiently enough. And what we're talking about here is the rule of law in Canada. So we need to get back to the rule of law. And if the RCMP are the ones that have to be held to that respect, that oversight where look at this again, this evidence is quite clear that there should be an investigation into this, and the people should be.
Did he cross a line in suggesting that somebody should
go to jail? RCMP. He said.
Well, I very much support the leader. I think he's doing a great job. He's a strong leader defending defending men and women in uniform, and I frankly will take no lessons from the Liberals on standing up for frontline officers. Our party is defending the work police officers do, that when people are arrested, when they're committing crimes, repeat violent offenders, they should be in jail, not out on bail. We've given the government a chance to adopt our jail not bail legislation. So we're standing up for frontline officers.
The RCMP is despicable.
And we're not taking any lessons from the Liberals. Our party is the one that is defending frontline officers. Should Justin Trudeau be in jail? And I support our leader.
Do you support the clarification?
Mr. Trudeau should go to jail?
I think he's addressed the comments, but again, we'll take no lessons from the Liberals on defending frontline officers.
Did he go too far, your leader?
You give us some time. What do you make of this whole episode, the leader having to clarify his comments on the RCMP? Was that clarification needed in your mind?
I mean, his comments speak for themselves. He offered a precision that I think was very important. I think that it's also important the precision that that he supports, that we support, and I will affirm that I support the men and women of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I'm proud that my family has a multi-generational history of service in the RCMP, and they do important work to keep Canadians safe. There is and has been criticism, rightly so, over how things have evolved over the last few years. We know the RCMP said themselves that when it came to investigating things like the SNC-Lavalin scandal, things like investigating the illegal vacation to Billionaire Island, that they were unable to fulfill and discharge their duties because the Prime Minister, the Liberal Prime Minister, used cabinet confidences to protect himself from investigation. That's not the intent of cabinet confidence. They're designed so that governments can have discussions and take decisions, and they're able to do that important work of governance.
Did Poilievre go too far when he said that Justin Trudeau should go to jail? Did he go too far?
I didn't hear him say that.
Can I go to work? Am I allowed to go to work?
Indeed.
Can I go to work?
Okay.
What's your opinion on the work of the RCMP?
Was your leader right to clarify his comments?
Est-ce qu'il est allé trop loin? Est-ce qu'il est allé trop loin?
You know, there's 3,000 jobs lost at Stellantis. There is another 1,200 at Ingersoll. We've got softwood lumber jobs being eliminated. My leader's put out a statement. I don't have anything else to add. But there's a 5-alarm fire going on in this country with jobs, with inflation doubling its inflation way over target. So that's what we're going in to talk about today.